Again, thank you very much. Thanks for being here. Please, Mark, keep up the good work. We all love it. Thank you all. Thanks a million. And does anyone I don't have an agenda with me. What's next?
Well, that's it.
That's it. Well,
Yeah.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
That's it.
One final round of applause for Remy, please. Thank you.
Okay. We move on now to approval of the agenda. And so we turn to our city clerk. Are there any changes to today's agenda?
A couple announcements. File 3A is removed by staff. It's regarding actions pertaining to $12 million state revolving fund low-interest loan through the State Water Resources Control Board for construction of a 6 million gallon finished water reservoir at the city's northeast surface water treatment facility in District 6. That's 3A, yes.
Okay.
And also proclamation of Ray Appleton Day, added by the mayor and council president as co-sponsors along with Council Brandel. Is that still on?
Yes, it's on
Okay.
her 3 o'clock.
Okay, for 3 o'clock. And that's it.
Thank
Those
you.
2 items.
Fantastic. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. The screen is clear. Is there any opposition? Seeing none, item carries 6-0. Now on to the approval of minutes from our May 11th meeting. Are there any changes to the minutes? Okay, seeing none, the screen is clear. The chair will entertain a motion
Motion
to approve.
to approve.
We have a motion by member Capriolio. I will second. The screen is clear. Is there any opposition? Seeing none, item carries 6-0. Moving now to council member reports and comments. Member Capriolio.
Thank you, Council President. Last Saturday was a very moving day for me and for our community. And they had at the airport, and some of my airport people are right here, it's called Wings for Autism. And they took 50 families with autism or autistic children to the airport. So what happens generally is that an autistic child has to have certainty and regulation over and over to survive. So that kind of limits their opportunity to travel. So what the airport did with their staff was put together a program to bring those families to the airport into a different environment. Brought them to the airport, they had their luggage, walked in, listened to Mayor Brand, welcomed them about 17 times, I think, which was a great announcement. But then they went to the waiting area. They met the pilots and the staff of the airplanes. All this excitement and noise, and it was just really getting bigger and louder and better. And these kids did so well in their families, very appreciative. So then we went out the door to the plane. SkyWest spent $25,000 to fly a jet in just for this event. So once the kids got on the tarmac, walked them up to the plane, the engines are roaring. These kids are solid, absolutely solid. Then they go up the stairs into the plane, got their seat belted in, all brand new experiences. This is things that have never happened in their lives. Then they closed the cabin door, revved up those engines, and I think they taxied for, Kevin, what, about 50 miles? Not really, but around and around. And these kids were fantastic. They loved it. It was special. I can't thank the people that were involved enough. And I had my list here. I want to put it on the record. Of course, Kevin and his fantastic team at the airport. You guys are the greatest. SkyWest Airlines, TSA, Delta Global, HP, and the ARC for their work, dedication, and commitment to these families. And the ARC is in District 4 as well as one of my jewels, the airport. So I can't thank you enough. And hopefully we'll do Wings for Autism at least once a year, because these kids were over the top with excitement, and their families were so appreciative of what you folks did. So thanks.
The screen is clear, and we can continue on to the consent calendar. Are there any council members who wish to remove items from the consent calendar? Member Capriolio.
One I, please. I is an I.
Okay, 1I.
I'd like to remove 1B.
Item 1B has been removed. I would like to remove Item 1O. Member Soria. 1G, 1H. Member Bredefeld.
1N as in Nancy.
Council President, is there anything left on the consent calendar?
One thing. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, well, the screen is clear, and we'll go out to the public at this time. Are there any members of the public who wish to address any item on the consent calendar? If so, please come forward. Okay, we'll close public comment and return to the City Council. Screen's clear. We can entertain a motion to approve the balance of the consent calendar.
Second.
Motion and a second.
Council President?
Yes.
I'd like to register a no vote on item 1M.
1M as in Mary.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, 1M. Was that removed by anyone? Oh, N has been removed, but not M. Okay. So, Member Brandow wishes to register a no vote on 1M, and go ahead and put me down for a no vote on that item as well, please. 1 Mary. Okay. Is there any opposition to approval of the balance of the consent calendar? Okay. Consent calendar passes unanimously. And now, staff from personnel. Item 1B, actions pertaining to International Union of Operating Engineers, Stationary Engineers, Local 39.
Good afternoon, Council. I'm Ken Phillips, Labor Relations Manager. I'm in the Personnel Services Department. Council is being asked to approve a successor agreement with Local 39. The agreement expired in 2016. The terms of the MOU are in the documents before you. I would like to note briefly that a correction will need to be made to the 2019 salary schedule, which is in the final version of the MOU. The new class of Senior Collection Systems Maintenance Specialist was not listed, and Senior Communications Technician was listed twice. We'll make sure this is corrected for 2019. I'm available for any questions.
Member Brandow.
All right. Actually, I don't have any questions, but thank you. I appreciate it.
Member Bredefeld.
Did you? No, go ahead.
One of the concerns that I have as we discussed this issue, one is that there appears to be, and I do have a question for you. So, come on. There's two concerns I have. One is there appears to be in some parts of this labor group an abuse of sick policy. Is that accurate at all?
There's a higher use of sick leave policy in some areas of this unit, yes.
In some areas. And so perhaps you can state what we're trying to do to solve that or fix that. I don't know if the city manager wants to or you do.
We are doing several things through this MOU. One is to tighten up the attendance policy, to make it more difficult to avoid getting an incident on that, which is a disciplinary action. The other is to provide an incentive for people who are actually at work. If you are at work virtually all time, it is possible to earn additional leave time, which can be cashed out.
Okay. And so are you referring to the employee incentive time off?
Yes, I was referring to that and to the amendments to the attendance policy.
Okay. So I think that's my biggest objection is the employee incentive time off policy. That's a policy in this agreement where people who come to work, do their job, and aren't a problem in terms of work schedule or anything like that, get additional time off which they can then cash out. Correct?
That's correct.
So in a sense, we're rewarding people who show up for work every day and do their job.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, and that's my problem with this. I don't think most people, wherever they work, get additional time off or incentive to cash out for doing their job. They get to keep their job. And so I have a problem with this. I think this is something that most people, when they understand is part of this agreement, are not going to be happy about. I don't think our taxpayers expect us to reward people for showing up for work. For that reason, I can't support this.
The screen is clear. Let's go ahead and vote electronically, please. Oh, well, we have a motion and a second by Member Baines and second by Member Story. Let's vote electronically, please. Somebody didn't vote. Item carries 4 yes, 3 no. Move now to thank you, staff. We move now to item 1G, approve a facility usage reservation agreement. This is parks.
Good afternoon, Council President and Council members. Sean Schaefer with the Parks Department, and we are bringing forward 2 items, 1G and 1H. 1G is to approve facility usage agreement for Central Unified School District for swim lessons at the East Campus, and 1H is to approve the agreement with Fresno Unified for use of district pools for the summer swim program. Here to answer any questions.
So I just actually pulled this item because I think that what you guys are doing with the swim program is great. I know that last year was our first year that we expanded Blue Space out to Central Unified. I know that a lot of work went into to get that agreement going, and so I just wanted to, for the public's knowledge, so that they realize the work that you guys are doing and how many kids are being served. Can you maybe speak to that Central agreement that we have?
Sure. Last summer was our first year at Central Unified, and this was a cost recovery model. We served 358 youth in swim lessons, and we did 3 sessions out there last year. And this year we're looking to have all 4 sessions, so that number will be a lot bigger. And we're adding a morning swim lesson program out there. So the public really gravitated toward that, and we had a really good overall program.
Yeah, and I'm very excited about the work that you guys are doing. I do just want to publicly thank the staff, the administration for working with us and making that a reality. I know that when I first noticed that we were doing it with Fresno Unified, I thought it would be great that we expand out to west of the 99, where we know that many of our families don't have sometimes the same type of amenities and access to the amenities that folks east of the 99 do. And so I'm proud to be able to support it again, to see the great work that you guys continue to do to serve our young people and to make sure that they're learning how to swim. I think that that's a very important skill, given that we do see that every year kids in the summer can, drown and so forth because they don't have those skills. So I'm proud that the City of Fresno has partnered up with our local schools to ensure that we're serving our community and our kids. So thank you for the work that you guys do. And so I'll make a motion for both items if we can combine
Well,
them.
and if I could, Sean, if you could also, this isn't just about swim lessons. Item H, which I believe is the Fresno Unified Joint
Correct,
Use
yes.
Amendment, if you could expand on how this complements our weekend program that was initiated last year under our partnership with Fresno Unified.
Absolutely. The Weekend Recreation and Fitness program, where we went out to all 16 sites, 14 Fresno Unified and 2 Central Unified sites, I think we've really established a base and a very successful program out there on the weekends. Because of this success and the trust that we have developed with both Fresno Unified and Central Unified, we were able to do the Fresno Unified pool agreement. What we're looking to do on this is we've got 4 swimming pools that will be swim lesson pools. Those will be Bullard, Fresno High, Hoover, and Edison. And with the revenue generated from those swim lessons, we will have a cost-neutral model to be able to do rec swim. And as City Manager Rudd mentioned, the Blue Space. So what we're looking to do in conjunction with our Green Space program is during the summer when it's 110-degree days out there on the weekends, now we will have the pool option available to the community to come out and be able to utilize the swimming pools for swimming out there. We'll have Red Cross certified lifeguards out there. We're working with Fresno Unified's Career Technical Education program to develop lifeguards, which this is really exciting in tandem with our youth job prep program. So a lot of winners lining up on this piece, but in conjunction with the Green Space, now we have Blue Space.
And even I think our rates are much more affordable than some of the private rates that were previously being offered. Is that correct, Sean?
Yeah, absolutely. And we really saw this at Central, but other carriers are double, let's just say double our price, or maybe a little less than that. And we're coming in at a very affordable price, which the community is really gravitating to. But affordable swim lessons, and as you mentioned, teaching kids to swim is a huge life skill to develop.
Right. Thank you again. So I make a motion for both.
Could I say something really quick? I would like to highlight Alex Ballinger from Fresno Unified, head of facilities, who was key in getting this arrangement done. And then Rich Rodriguez, who will be our aquatics person that will be driving the bus this summer. And then obviously our assistant director, Christina Chamberlain.
Thank you guys for all the work. Thank you, Fresno Unified, for being a partner.
So is that a motion?
Yeah.
Second.
Motion.
Okay, we have a motion, a second.
For both items?
Okay, motion, a second for both items. Now
Correct.
you get to speak, and then followed by Member Chavez. And by you, I meant Member Capriolio.
Thank you. Thank you, Sean. It's really exciting because I'm in Midtown Fresno, and we don't have a lot of pool space or pool availability. So Hoover High School is critical, and it's a new facility. I did talk to a couple of water polo players, and they said, be sure and mention to Sean that we've got to coordinate our practices and all that. So I said, we'll work it out.
That came up a little bit, yes.
Yeah, and I said, Sean can fix anything. So Sean and Christina, this team of Alex and Rich. So thank you all very much. And when we do the lifeguard training at Hoover, it used to be at Airways. Now it's going to be...
Mosqueda will be the hub, but as we bring on the Fresno Unified kids in abbreviated time frame, absolutely Hoover will be considered for one of those lifeguard development classes.
Yeah, those Patriots are fantastic. So thanks for everything you do. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
And your team.
Member Chavez.
I just want to thank you guys for the work that you've been doing. I know this has been a project, a work in progress. Alex back there, when I used to wear my other hat over at Fresno Unified, I know there was a lot of conversation that went on, and I just wanted to publicly thank Wilma too. I know that she did a lot of the legwork on this agreement last year, and I also want to just flag that Roosevelt is actually slated to receive a brand new pool that we were able to get done last year. That's going to even work better for our kids. And the last, just had one quick question. Have we gotten any sponsorships from some of our partners like Kaiser or some of the other health organizations?
Yes, absolutely. I don't know if I can officially announce that yet, but it's in the works. So.
Okay, good. Well, I just there's a reason I'm asking. But thank you for the work that you guys do. Alex back there, Fresno Unified, Karen Temple, thank you very much for the work that they're doing over there. And we're looking forward to that groundbreaking over there at Roosevelt. Maybe we'll get 3 Rough Riders, having Member Capriolio, myself, and the mayor that are both Roosevelt grads. That'll be a great event out there at Rough Rider Land. Thank you.
Okay, the screen is clear. We have a motion and a second. This will be for item 1G and also item 1H. The screen is clear. Is there any opposition? All right, they pass unanimously. Thank you, staff. Moving on to item 1I, approve amendment number 1. It's a consulting services agreement. Airports.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Kevin. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. You're looking at this item. I wanted you to elaborate on it, if you could, for the benefit of my colleagues. Not everybody was here when we entered this agreement in April of last year, I believe. So please give us your understanding of what we're doing here with this item.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for the opportunity, because you're right. There are some members, I think Chavez and Member Butterfield weren't here when we initiated this process back in April of 16, hiring this consultant, and they're well underway in the process, 70% or so completed. FAA-driven process. It's a very complex and challenging process to do this. But basically, this is an update of the airport's what's called a passenger facility fee program. They call it a PFC program. This program provides infrastructure funding source to the airport that has no other identified source of funding, and really it helps keep the airport viable into the future. The funds received is basically $4.50 as part of the ticket price. Virtually every airport in the United States has this program in place. if we don't have the program, then you still pay it. You're just going to a different airport. So the benefit here is that the dollars stay local. It contributes to the economy with jobs and construction. And again, it funds infrastructure work where the airport has no other source to do that work. So it's a viable program. Virtually every program has it. This action that we're proposing with the guidance of this consultant doesn't change the cost, doesn't change the program at all. It just keeps moving forward. So we are about 70% through the process, and anticipate it will be completed the first part of 2018 when we're done. Specific to this consultant and what are they really doing and why aren't we doing this, ourselves or in-house? Consultants are better equipped to undertake this process. They have the expertise to do it. And what the expertise brings is a couple of things. One, they're able to maximize our ability to fund these projects. Nothing will fall through the cracks. So whatever we're eligible for, they're going to grab every dollar of it, which is a big deal for us. And the second piece is it transfers knowledge. So as we're going through this application process, and that's what this is for. This is just the application process. The ongoing management of the program is done in-house. So we are learning from the consultant how to properly manage the program moving forward. And so this exercise of updating the application occurs every 3 or so years, typically at airports, and we're right in the middle of this one. So moving forward, this will enable us to complete the process. And I'll say one more thing. We anticipate coming back to City Council later this year as part of the process, and when we do, it's going to list all the projects that we propose on doing under this program over the next 3 years. And so we'll be seeking City Council's approval to submit the formal application to the FAA. Currently, it sits at about a 400-page document. It's going to grow more. They're actively working on it today, and this is just to bring us to that finish line. I'm here for any questions. I've got my chief financial officer here, too, who has some experience in this area to answer any questions if you have any. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and I want to thank you and your team for, Fresno is an international airport. We're not just an airport, we're an international airport, which is a very rare status in the state of California, especially the valley in its entirety. So congratulations on that. And then I forgot to mention when I had the comments on Wings for Autism that your team put together the first program from a city in the entire state of California.
Yes.
It was you and your team, and again, those kids, I'm getting chills. They lit up like Christmas trees. They were so thrilled and happy. It was fantastic. I can't say enough good things about that. So thanks to you and your team. Yeah. That's all I have. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion. Second, the screen is clear. Is there any opposition? Well, you got to be quicker on the trigger than that. Go ahead.
Okay. Question for you, Kevin. So this started as an $80,000 contract. It's now been amended to include another $40,000. Why is it being amended? Why wasn't this known that it would be a $120,000 contract?
It's a very good question. Here I've got this expert.
Okay.
And not just an expert. I just if I could take a second here.
Yeah.
And then he'll answer your question. But Lino here was recently awarded a Small Airports Finance Officer of the Year award. That's every small airport in the North America, United States, and Canada. So he's been recognized. He's brought a really good strategic initiatives to our airports. We're glad to have him here. So I only say that because, we sometimes we don't get enough recognition of our staff, but also because he's spearheading this process we're talking about today. And so he's very well versed in the process overall and has worked on similar processes at other airports. So, yeah, I think he can probably answer that question. Give some perspective. What's happening at Fresno? Why is it different than other airports? And all of a sudden now we're hit with, amending a contract to grow it from 80 to 120.
Correct.
Good afternoon, Councilman.
Hi.
The reason for the increase is basically that the FAA is requesting us to do an unprecedented amount of work on this application. It's very difficult to anticipate what the FAA will require. It varies. The FAA is organized by several regions. The standards vary region by region. The requirements vary by FAA official. And they also vary depending on the complexity of the document that we're trying to put together.
Okay.
So it's a very difficult project to kind of budget for and to price out. And it's quite common in the industry that you get to a point in a project and you need an additional budget to finish the project. It's not unusual. So.
And you don't anticipate another amendment that you're going to be needing or anything of that sort at this point?
We do not. We think that actually we know that this additional amount is going to take us to the completion of the project. So.
Okay. And Kevin, could I ask you just a question? So we needed this work because we can't do this in-house because of the technicalities. Is that right? We've never done this in-house ever?
No, we've never done it. We don't have the expertise. And this is an effort, this application process to the FAA that occurs about every 3 or so years. So, I mean, we could likely be coming back to council 3 years from now, either the same or a different consultant. Okay, it's time to go through the process again. So it doesn't happen like day in, day out where we've got staff trained. So it's few and far between.
Okay, I'm happy to support this. Can I ask City Attorney, it's not on the agenda, but I'm wondering anything with Uber at this point, if there's any update that you can share with the council, because obviously that's a big issue.
You can ask a general question like
Just
that.
curious, Kevin, if there's any progress on that, because I do have some business constituents who, and I've shared this with the city manager, who said they need Uber. They're used to flying in all over the country and having Uber, and wondering about that.
Yeah, and of course, they started in June of 2016, so it's 9-10 months now that they've been operating at the airport. So to answer your question, yes. In fact, we just met with them. Was it last Friday? I'm looking over at one of my staff. Michael, was it last Friday? We met with Uber. It was. To re-go over the existing contract that we have with them, the same contract we have with Lyft, exactly the same contract, consistent with industry, and they just wanted to better understand, what the issue was, which is really third-party reporting, which they're already doing at other locations. Lyft is doing here as well as other locations throughout the United States. And so they have not yet got back to us yet to say, well, yep, all right, well, we're on board, let's do it. I told them this, because at this point in time, we're not talking about whether these corporations should be charged an annual permit fee. That's kind of off the table at this point in time. But what I said, because there's no fees involved, is look, I could sign this thing today, and you're back up and running. And from their end, it's just flipping that switch, that geofence switch that kind of either turns on or off the airport piece of their map. So it can happen immediately. And so we're going to continue to reach out to them and continue to have these discussions, because we hear from constituents too.
Okay.
Not just in Fresno, but up and down the valley, and we want them back.
Sure, yeah. We sure do. Okay, thank you, and I will be supporting this agreement.
All right. The screen is clear. Is there any opposition to this item? Seeing none, it carries unanimously, 7-0. The next item removed was item 1N, as in Nancy. Approved the First Amendment to Professional Consultant Agreement. And this is Darm. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Council President, members of the City Council, Jennifer Clark, Development and Resource Management. So before you today, you have an amendment to a consulting agreement for environmental services to evaluate property that is located at the wastewater treatment plant. As you recall, last summer, we entered into an agreement with Ascent Environmental to evaluate a very large piece of land for potential of conversion to heavy industrial. We've narrowed it down to a very small piece, and now we have determined that not just an initial study of whether we're going to have a mitigated negative declaration or an environmental impact report, we've actually determined that it will be a mitigated negative declaration. So this allows us to complete the studies that are required, the air studies, the traffic studies, and the actual mitigated negative declaration, as well as the monitoring checklist. So that is the package that is before you today. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. And it was Member Bredefeld that removed it.
So what is the amount of the original contract? Because this is an amendment.
Correct. The amount of the original contract was approximately $80,000. This additional $50,000 brings the entire total new contract to $130,137.
Okay. And it says the purpose of the study is to determine the potential impacts, if any, of changing the land use and zoning designations. DARM is not capable of doing that?
So there are some very detailed analysis that are required as it relates to traffic studies, as it relates to air quality, to noise, that we certainly do not have the capacity. And each typically an environmental assessment or an environmental review is done by an outside consulting agency for an applicant. So say a company comes in and they want to change zoning on land, we require that they provide us with that environmental impact report or study that tells us what those impacts are and how we mitigate those and whether or not we can do that within our overall environmental document for the city of Fresno. In this case, the city is the applicant, and so we're conducting this study. So typically this is not something that is done in-house.
Okay. Is it ever done in-house, or just in this instance it wasn't done
For a
in-house?
very large project, it is not done in-house. For very small projects, yes.
And so why is there an amendment if we did this in-house and we're the ones doing it? Why did we go from 80 to another 50?
So the initial contract was to determine whether or not we would, so there was an initial study to determine whether or not we would do a mitigated negative declaration or environmental impact report, and it was determined that we're going to do an MND, which is a lesser evaluation. If we were to discover somewhere along the line that we needed an EIR, it would be an additional $120,000. So in this case, we believe that the impacts are low enough that it is something that we can mitigate the impact of changing the land use designation from public improvement to heavy industrial, and that we can, because of the size of the change, it is can be mitigated. The impacts related to air quality, noise, traffic, other impacts.
Is there an applicant in this project?
As Jennifer pointed out, we are a co-applicant. There is a project that we are working with District 3 as well as the city attorney on that the success and the ability to move that project forward will be predicated on our ability to clear this site from a zoning standpoint.
Okay, and the applicant wasn't late in whatever they were doing?
No, we are in a lot of ways co-sponsoring this effort.
Okay. Now, the only thing that I'm really troubled by, in this report from your department, there's literally 8 or 9 lines. It does not tell us much of anything. It did not mention anything about the original contract, did not know what it cost, had basically very little information at all. And so I would just ask that in the future we have a lot more information and a comprehensive staff report, because it's not in here. I mean, there's just very little information about what this project is about, who the applicant is, the original contract, why we're doing what we're doing. And as somebody who is elected to be a steward of the taxpayer dollar, I can't do my job with this kind of a report.
Okay, we have a motion to approve and a second. The screen is clear. Let's go ahead and is there any opposition to this item? No. Okay, so it passes unanimously. Thank you, staff. Okay, so that is next item pulled was item 1O, the facts item. Okay.
Good afternoon, Council. Gregory Barfield, Assistant Director.
Yes, thank you for coming to Council today with this item. I just, can you bring us up to date? I've been following this very closely from the beginning, but could you bring us up to date on what this item will do today?
So this item does 3 things. 1, it provides a director or his or her designee to designate employees to serve as fair enforcement officers. 2, it prohibits fare evasion, actually puts it on the books finally. And then 3, prohibits willful providing a false identification.
Okay. What's it, like a faked pass or?
Like I'm Clint Olivier.
Uh-huh.
And it would prohibit me from going around saying I was Clint Olivier when I was evading fares.
Oh, okay.
Greg, I don't know why in the world you'd want to do that.
Yeah, I know. I like the suit he's got on today.
Thank you. Some civility in here is what I expect. Okay, so talk to us a little bit about the fare evasion, and what did you and Mr. Marshall come up with, the percentage of folks that you're expecting to perhaps engage in fare evasion?
Actually, we have no percentage. This allows it to move forward. As part of Bus Rapid Transit, we have to come up with a fare evasion policy. That's why we're here today, is for the framework of what that policy looks like, and for the director to have designees in order to enforce it should we go down that route in the future. Again, this is just the framework in order to get it on the books.
Okay, so, and we're still at a very early stage, right?
Very early stage, yes.
So if we deploy BRT, and then that day, that first day, we'll have an idea of the riders, the very preliminary numbers in terms of ridership.
Before that, you will have an idea of what fare evasion looks like, who's enforcing it, and what the penalties will be. Those are all subject to be discussed. We have not gotten that far as of yet.
Do we have a fare evasion issue on our current system?
Well, yeah. If you are a possessor of a Chuck E. Cheese token, you could probably get on the bus. There's a car wash at Clovis and Tulare. I know, there it goes. I'm just telling you, right? So yes, there are folks who do evade fares.
Okay, all right.
How big? It's yeah.
Well, we don't like people to do that, and we want people to pay to ride our bus. And so, with that, I will make a motion to approve. Member Brandow.
Was this the item, Greg, that was before council last week?
Yes, we were before council for final adoption, and there was a question about the wording may over shall. Councilmember Chavez made a recommendation, and you all supported it, that the word may was struck, and shall, when it comes to the carrying of pepper spray, was allowed. City attorney opined that was a significant change, and so we thank the city attorney's office for redoing the ordinance with the striking out of may and adding the word shall.
So we didn't vote on this last week?
You voted to have it come back.
Voted to have it come back.
You did vote for it with the amendment.
My understanding is it was reintroduced with the change.
With the change.
Requested and support unanimously by this council to change the word from may to shall. This was regarding the labor organization's concern over pepper spray. That's been changed, so this is now just for final adoption.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Member Soria.
I just have a couple questions. So, Greg, you just mentioned that we are creating a framework to go after folks that evade the fares, right?
Correct.
When I looked at it, it seems like the framework is pretty clear as to what we're going to do. I feel very uncomfortable, actually, after taking a look at it a little bit more, adding a misdemeanor. I just don't think that we should be in the business of criminalizing folks when, even if it's a multiple, I think we should exclude them and figure out a way to punish them. But I think creating a misdemeanor, I just don't feel comfortable going in that direction. And so,
Councilmember, we don't feel that comfortable either. But that's why we're going through this process of trying to figure out what it looks like.
Well,
and we've been in conversations.
I would ask to exclude it then, because I don't think that it should be part of the framework. I just can't support it then. And I don't know. I would vote to, or I would submit that we strike that out. I think that there's a couple different ways we can, double the citation and then at the very extreme exclude them from riding the bus. But I don't want to be in the business of criminalizing people. We already know who are the folks that are riding the bus traditionally, and really is what we have is low-income people trying to get to work, trying to get to school. And so I wouldn't feel comfortable enough to go out in the community and say, hey, I'm criminalizing someone because, didn't pay $1 something. I think that we should put a mechanism in place to deter them from doing fare evasion, but I don't think criminalizing, at least I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that. So I would vote, and I would actually make a motion if we could strike the misdemeanor part of it.
We have a motion and a second. Member Baines is the second on that. Are you done? Okay, go ahead.
Yes, if you take it out, I won't support it. I think we should criminalize people who commit crimes. It's a very simple thing. If we started deciding that we're not going to prosecute people when they commit crimes, which the state is already trying to do with Prop 47 and 57 and AB 109, and that's why we're more unsafe. So I support leaving it in, and I support prosecuting people who commit crimes. I think it makes for a much safer society.
Go ahead. Greg, if this were changed from a misdemeanor to an infraction, would that have any bearing on?
You have to
Doug?
look at your legal counsel for that.
Doug, if we Councilmember Soria brings up, in my opinion, a very valid point about having this as a misdemeanor.
Right. The penalty section now provides that the first and second violations could be prosecuted as an infraction. The third would be a misdemeanor. It also provides that in the alternative, the city, in its discretion, can pursue an administrative citation in lieu of the criminal citations.
Right. So
that would be up to a combination of whoever's writing the citations and our office in prosecuting.
So it becomes a misdemeanor after the third infraction?
Mm-hmm. Yes. If you deleted that sentence, then you'd still have the infraction and the administrative process.
Does it allow for a person to be excluded from riding the bus?
It does not provide for
Maybe
that.
we could do that as the...
Would we be able to add that in there, a banning of a person from riding the bus?
Yes, you could. You could direct us to write that into it, and we can come back again with the final adoption.
Councilmember Soria, what I would suggest is if you want to take out the misdemeanor section of that, then I would add a banning, banishment, whether it's for, I don't know, a year or 2 years or what have you, instead of the misdemeanor section.
So, Council, again, I think the policy's been written in a manner that would allow us to go through an administrative process, and through that administrative process, and you could and we could ban someone from the system. Conversely, if you have gone through the administrative process and you have banned somebody from the system and they still insist on riding, at some point in time, you have to apply the law. I would recommend that you don't change the language. You may want to allow us to actually get BRT up and running and have us report back out after a year as to how many misdemeanor citations have been issued compared to administrative citations, but I would encourage you to leave the language as is and allow the staff to actually exercise the flexibility that was incorporated into the language.
So I just want to be clear. I don't want to mischaracterize the conversation. Sometimes it easily happens. This is not about not enforcing the law. So an infraction is still a legal issue. So I want to make sure that people don't get all wrapped around the axle about that. Misdemeanors carry a different type of connotation on a person's record. So I do agree with that. And what I would recommend, Councilmember Soria, is that your amendment allows for a person to be banned from the bus. If a person tried to exit or tried to board a bus after being banned, I'm pretty sure that would be a misdemeanor violation, as trespass or something like that, which is a different scenario, in my opinion. So that would be my suggestion, Councilmember Soria.
I would accept the adding of banning.
So where are we on this motion now?
Was there a main motion to approve the item first?
That's what Member Soria made.
Okay, so Councilmember Soria's motion is to approve it with that change, but we would need to come back the following week with a final adoption.
Okay, I understand. We have a second by Member Baines, correct? Okay. A couple of council members punched up. Member Bredefeld.
Yeah, what happens, Greg, if this passed and the person is banned and they're banned and they still get on the bus? Then what? Then we ask them, pretty please, not to get on the bus?
Well, we do have fax PD at our disposal. And yes, that does mean pretty please.
Pretty please.
Exit our bus.
So we go, pretty please, don't violate our laws. Yeah. I mean, this is absurd. I don't know how. Well, I do understand how we're in the state we're in, and this is just a microcosm of what's going on in the state. I won't support this motion.
Member Brandow.
I'm interested in continuing the item until it's completely cleaned up and we know what exactly we're going to vote on with the correct wording that you're concerned about, and then we can take an up-down vote at that time, I think.
I'll second that.
Yeah, but that's my interest. It seems to me like we should continue the item again until next week, until all of these concerns, because these concerns could have been raised last week when we first talked about it. And that's just a thought, though.
Council, if that's the case, it
I'm
would have to
asking
come back for introduction and then again for final adoption.
Right. So that means I have to come back 2 more times.
Yeah, one more time to see your smiling face.
I serve at the pleasure of the city
Councilmember
manager.
Soria. Yeah. But
So
we could, you could take the vote on that today, but it's, we're changing this thing again, and I'd like to see the final language on it and then vote one time.
But who puts together the final?
Well, you're basically giving them direction. Well, I think
For
the
point
city
of
attorney's...
clarification,
City manager.
Point of clarification, you have staff's recommendation. I think the vote is whether or not you want the language to be changed. If the motion carries, then we'll come back next week with a revised version. But I don't know what holding it back. We first need to figure out, staff needs to figure out whether or not there's enough support to change the language as proposed.
Got it.
Member Baines.
So I just want to make sure we're clear, and this is not pretty please. So well, it's not, and I can tell you guys it's not, as being a former police officer, maybe the only one on the dais, that if someone tried to board the bus and we have fax police, they'd be arrested for trespassing. So while I understand all the fervor for wanting to be, enforcing the law and all that, this in no way minimizes that. So I want to be clear about mischaracterizing what the motion is. This does no way prevent someone from, or prevent us from carrying out the law or citing an infraction, nor, and if someone did try to board the bus, we do have fax police that are able and willing to actually make an arrest. So the pretty please is a gross mischaracterization of what would actually occur in the field.
Member Chavez.
There's so many motions. I'm getting motion sickness. Where are we at now?
There is a Councilmember Soria's motion is to approve the item at introduction today with the change that would eliminate the misdemeanor and provide for banning on the third violation and retaining the administrative process too.
Okay, and if so, District 5 actually had a couple of disruptive riders, habitual disruptive riders. So, in that scenario, what does this ordinance with that language look like? So, first offense, what happens, Greg?
first offense is a warning.
Okay.
Right. Second offense is an infraction. Third offense now is the banning, if this measure goes through, would be the banning from riding the bus.
And then if they keep riding the bus and doing all that?
We continue to, and again, we're talking about fare evasion at this point. So if they continue to ride the bus and fare evade, then we go through the process, all of the infraction steps again.
Which didn't work the first time. If they're habitually reoffending and offending. So what I'm trying to get to is, by the time we go through this whole process, do we have a tool in the toolbox to pursue this further if they're repeatedly, because it sounds to me like they get 3 chances.
You get 3 chances.
If you by the third chance you're not listening, there needs to be a real consequence to this. That's just my opinion.
That was
your recommendation. Okay, I got it. Thanks.
Member Capriolio.
Thank you, Council President. As a practicing attorney, a misdemeanor of this level will get 0 response from the court or probation or anyone else. Hate to say that, but been there long enough to know that. But I think, on the other hand, if there's actually banning of the person and prevention from riding the bus, much more effective. If you cite them for a misdemeanor, they won't show. A warrant will issue. It'll never be caught. They just do the cycle over and over. On the other hand, if we have them posted, I would put their picture on the front of the bus. Everybody can see who these fare evaders are, who's making it rough on the system, and do those sorts of enforcement ability, and then top it off with now banned across the front of it at an angle, banned from the bus. Offender, third time banned, and then use that enforcement tool with the assistance of the police department, I think would be much more effective, because a misdemeanor really, as they say in Germany, macht's nix, makes no difference. It really doesn't. So, just my opinion.
Thank you, Member Bredefeld.
Again, I just strongly disagree with this. This is the staff report. There is a consequence, there's a misdemeanor, and there's further prosecution. A ban will mean nothing to somebody who's violating, getting on the bus over and over. We can put ban, put their picture up there, put a stripe there. Ultimately, they're going to do what they're going to do unless we really put some teeth into this. And a ban is, as I said, after this, and they continue, is we just say, pretty please don't do it anymore, because we're completely ineffective. Let's have real teeth in what we do, or criminals know we don't mean it. And that's what's going to happen here.
Okay, the screen is clear, and I wanted to say a few words, and you probably have heard me say these words before, but I want to speak to my colleagues on the City Council. We're talking about, we're having a debate over crime and punishment and the best public policy to make in terms of punishing people and not letting criminals slide and law and order. We're talking about somebody who gets on the bus without paying because they don't happen to have $1, or I'll pay him twice next time I ride. Or we're not talking about a hardened criminal who is right. The guy with the eye mask on and the striped shirt that's like, I'm going to ride the bus for free today. We're talking about fare evasion, and I think in terms of in fare evasion, we're going to see a lot of it. Other cities in the valley have 50% and up of fare evasion of people who just don't pay. And this is my suggestion. I don't think that hitting them with infractions or misdemeanors or banishment from the system is going to do anything. People are going to get on it, and people are going to ride it. If you can fill up a grocery cart at Target with $850 worth of merchandise and walk out of that Target and nothing happens to you, what do you think's going to happen to the fare evader that stole a $1.25 ride on a fax bus? There's only one answer to fixing the problem of fare evasion, and that's to make the bus rapid transit system complementary for our constituents. And the reason why is because in my opinion, and I'm not a transit manager or a transit expert by any means, but in my opinion, everybody's going to ride this for free. With the machines, the ticket vending machine being off the vehicle and the bus driver having no way to check for tickets or bus passes or for coin, I think that this is going to be a free system. But I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. And I guess my question is for City Manager and also for Mr. Barfield. Are there grants available out there? Because I know that we only recover 20 cents on the dollar at the fare box. So are there grants available that this organization can go after from the federal government or the state government to make the BRT lines along Kings Canyon and Blackstone just like a free line? Then if they want to connect, then they'll have to pay for their transfer and the next bus ride. But what about just making, and then there's no fare evasion. What about that? Are there any other cities that you know of that do that have a free line and then you pay to transfer to another?
I'm not aware of a single transit agency in this country that runs anything for free.
Even one route?
Even one route.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it's sponsored by somebody, and in which the cost of that service is provided for at 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Your point about the system only recovers 20% of its operating costs is why the private sector got out of public transit back in the 50s and early 60s. So asking someone to pay a minimum fare of $1 or $1.25 to ride a system, whether it's Fresno or here, is not, in fact, we're very cognizant of keeping our fares substantially low because we are and do recognize the segment of the population that's reliant upon public transportation. But to just provide free public transportation service or public transit, then the question is, where are those dollars going to come from? Facts could certainly operate the system for free if the general fund is willing to come up with the 20% that it needs to qualify for state dollars.
Well, I mean, it's 80% free right now, is what I'm hearing.
Yes,
it
it's
is
80%,
free. It's 80%
and that's true.
free.
That's true for public transportation. But like as I said before, there is not a single form of transportation that is not subsidized by government.
No, it's the idea that I had is not because I think complimentary bus service would be a nice amenity. I'm just thinking that, I mean, if nobody's going to pay anyway, and I can't wait to find out what the number of fare evaders that we have, which I think is going to be overwhelming.
And we'll be able to provide you that information, but the question before you today isn't whether or not people should ride for free or how much fare evasion you're going to experience. It's whether or not the violation for making a conscious decision at least 3 times not to pay the fare warrants a certain level of response by the city. If it's just an administrative hearing, as we found with some property owners, that doesn't at times get us very far. In fact, this council recently adopted an ordinance that said that a property owner the hearing officer must now compel the property owner to correct those problems. That was the teeth. If after 3 or 4 times you say, okay, you've done this 3 or 4 times, and I've gone through an administrative hearing process, which also means that they're going to be also doing it while we're going through the whole appeal process. At some point in time, when do you say enough is enough? And the ability to issue a misdemeanor, when I agree with Councilmember Capriolio, you're right. But they will issue a bench warrant, and then the next time that happens, they will end up going to jail because a warrant will be issued. So it really is a policy call. If you want to just strike the language, then tell staff, come back with a revised ordinance with that language being struck. That's the questions that's before this dais today.
Okay, Member Capriolio.
Yeah, I have a good friend and colleague that's in the audience, Mark Capitan. Hey, Mark, you want to come up and give us your opinion on this? You and I have discussed many of these issues over and over, and I've invited you to come down and give us your opinion. Well, thank you, Ray. Appreciate your support as an Appletone. No, I'm not. I'm just honestly, Mark. You're a good friend and one of the best lawyers in town, and you're not very opinionated.
I'm not real opinionated. I leave that to my brother Peter, right? Now, you know what's amazing is if you are going to ask me to talk, I've been here for 5 minutes, and I'm amazed at the conversation and how it takes a tone of more. You're calling me out on this, right?
The microphone is yours, my friend.
That it takes a tone of political correctness instead of what we all know is right and wrong. And I can't imagine that we're sitting here having a debate as to whether it's right or wrong to commit a theft of a city service. And you could call it fare evasion all you want, but that's not what it is. It's a theft of a city service. And, you know, Mr. Olivier, I mean, it's at some point, us, the public out here who sees problems with the petty theft, the sometimes non-punishment in the court, sometimes the homeless situation and having someone on my same piece of property day after day after day, at some point you have to get to a point to where it's right and wrong and there's punishment or no punishment. Because the small little whittling away to society that all this kind of stuff does is makes us out here feel like there's just no hope. And if there's no hope that there's going to be right and wrong and punishment or not punishment, then we do, as we're now starting to do, is we don't call the police when there's a theft. I just had my car broken into last week. Ray will attest, at the studio. And I didn't call the cops because I knew that, number one, something very minor was stolen. It was probably about $200 worth of stuff. But they're busy. They can't do it. They're not going to come out and do it for a long time. It's a homeless situation. They're never going to find the guy or whatever it may be. And the problem is we become apathetic, and when the public starts becoming apathetic, then it's a breakdown of society. So
Mark?
At some point, you guys got to stand up and say right and wrong.
So saying right or wrong, but the true question for me is what is the effective result? So the city manager mentioned issuing a no bail, or wouldn't be a no bail, but a bail warrant. We know they'll be cited, they won't show. But what do you think is an effective way to enforce this?
And the problem is now the judgments are starting to be made on finances and whether the court is going to live up to what they have to do. And at some point, you have to say, if the court is not living up to what they are supposed to do, then you need to replace the judges. But someone has to stand up and start the right and wrong process at a base level. And if the courts aren't going to stick up for you as a city council members, you guys have a lot of power to say at the next election, I think you should vote for the other guy. So yes, there is a misdemeanor or an infraction or whatever. I know the city attorney's office can be present. They are there on other matters already, and I understand it's a matter of budgeting and things that you guys have to think about. But the problem is the overall whittling away on the city services and all the other things. Like they say, the homeless situation, the petty thefts that are going on, it's just minor crimes, but it adds up to me having to pay hundreds of dollars to repaint the graffiti on my wall or replace the item. And the net effect is that since it's not started at this point, the costs go up and up and up in incremental ways, and you may not see it, but it's happening to all of us out in the public. And so, yes, the courts are the best way to do it because, number one, for some reason, they respect that building, that courthouse, and that judge sitting up there, and they try to do their best to try to comply with probation. And so the best way to do it is you convict them of a misdemeanor, you're placed on probation, they're banned from riding the bus for a 6-month period of time or a year period of time. If they violate, they have another charge, et cetera, et cetera. So you could do both. You could punish them and ban them. So.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Okay, a couple more. Let's go around the third time. Member Chavez. Member Bredefeld.
Yes, I just want to thank you, Mr. Capitan, for providing some logic and rationality to this argument. It's exactly right. Criminals don't like going to courthouses, and putting a ban on a window of a bus that they continue to violate is going to do absolutely nothing. And the argument that since we know people are going to violate this, and certainly not all, most people aren't going to violate this because most people are law-abiding citizens. But there are some who will violate it, and the argument because there are some who will violate it means we should make it free is the same thing as people who go steal from Walmart. We should make everything in Walmart free so there's no crime. I mean, it's an absurd argument. We need to prosecute people, whether it's a small violation, a theft of a property, breaking into your car, or fare evasion, whatever you want to call it. We ought to have consequences for that behavior so the behavior stops.
All right, the screen is clear. City Attorney and Member Story, just pay attention to what Doug is saying. Doug, the motion again for us to consider is?
The motion is to approve the item with the change of eliminating the misdemeanor and inserting instead, upon the third violation, the defendant would be banned from the bus for a year.
Okay,
I don't
so
think we put a time period on
if
that.
if this one passes, it passes. But if it fails, then what? Someone can make a motion to approve the original item.
That's possible. If this passes, that would be considered a new introduction, and then the final language would come back next week.
Okay.
If this motion fails, then it's up to you what to do from there.
All right, Super Friends, got it? We're going to vote electronically. Here we go. The item passes with Member Olivier, Bredefeld, and Brandow voting no. Thank you, staff. Thank you. Okay. That does it for the consent calendar. And in terms of scheduled council, let's see. Why don't we... I see people here. It's not 3 yet. Let me take one. Let's take Mr. Reed. Let's have you come up and speak. Because I don't see Mary Esther. Are you here this week? Oh, there you are. I didn't see you. I'm sorry. Enrique, let's have the other. Oh, wait. Who's 250? Oh. Enrique, you're first. So let's have you come up. and then Mary Esther, and then we'll do our 3 o'clock item.
Thank you, City
Thank
Council.
you.
I appreciate your time and having us here today. Mr. Capitan, thank you for coming up and saying what you said, because we're here to talk about the homeless also. And we do know that there is a problem in every district with the homeless. But today we're here in regards to the homeless problem that we have here in District 3, down the street here. We're at 1103 East Street, the funeral home that's here. And I have some of my colleagues here. They're all business owners from the community here. We're here, and I'm the president of the Merchant Association for Chinatown. But we have some concerns. They're going to come up and speak on their behalf of what's bothering them. The concern that we have at our funeral home, I just want you to visualize this. If you want to close your eyes and sit back and just listen to what I'm telling you, you can do that. Just imagine you going to a funeral and you're coming out at the end of the funeral and you step outside the door to take your flowers to the car and you step in human feces. One thing, you know. Or can imagine just going and doing a funeral and your daughter's in the casket and you walk outside and they panhandle you and you refuse to give them any money, and they spit on you, the mother. Or when you're out there, you have your car parked out there, and you have them breaking into your car. Or you go out and you see a camp out there. Code enforcement has been doing their job. I feel they have been doing what they're supposed to do. But the thing is, they can do what they do, but it's up to you guys to, like you said, they're getting away with something. You break down the camp, and then you have the next day they're back up again, or they move around the side and they're there. First impression, like Rosemary says, when people come from out of town, there's only 2 off-ramps here, Ventura and Fresno. People come to our convention center, and the first thing they see is this homeless camp. You know, and one thing I want to specify to you people, we are not against the homeless people. We are not. Believe me, I used to run the Fresno Food Bank before Community Food Bank came to town, and it's been in my blood for years. I feel bad for them that they don't have what we have. They don't have a pillar to put their head on. We do. But the problem is they're getting away with these things over here, and we want it to stop. We want it to stop, you know, and it's happening. Visualize that you went out, and we get to the office, and there's human feces on the wall. Not on the floor, on the wall. And it's all around our places, and it's around everybody's place. They're getting away with it. The thing is, you know, we feed 1 million people, I think, here at the Poverello House, the rescue mission, but there's no restrooms for them. All we're doing is feeding them, but are we helping them? No, not that I know of. There's a pastor that confronted me last night at Fresno State, and I was telling him about today, and he says, you know, I wish I could go tomorrow, because he says, you know what, yes, we're feeding the people, but we're not helping them. We're not giving them something to do. We got a problem with them hanging right here on the corner of E and Fresno Street at the Chevron. They're there all day long drinking. Nobody does nothing about it. And we're tired. We're tired of it. I've tried to call the city. I've been ignored. But now we've been having meetings for the past year of what we're going to do. Well, today we're here in front of you. And we're asking you to listen to us. We know what's happening in other places. Or let's visualize them moving to Van Ness Extension, where I used to live. That ain't going to happen. Or to River Park. It ain't going to happen. But it's happening right here. When you people come to work, a lot of you come through that street, and you just come over here, go to work, and then you go back and get on the freeway and go home. We're working on this. Every day we're in the middle of this. And it's sad that we have to be going through this. We have a beautiful city. But they're getting away with it.
Mr.
And
Reed.
we're tired of it.
Mr. Reed, your time is up for scheduled
You didn't say that to
communication.
anybody else when they were talking up here. I just want to finish what I'm here to say, and that's it. What are you guys going to do about this? You need to put a stop to this, you guys. It's your job to do this. We're doing our part out there. We got people here today that are representing our association here, and let's see what they got to say to you. So that's all. I'm sorry, Oliver, that I have to say that. But guys, just think about, put yourselves in our shoes, okay? And we want to do a follow-up meeting. Mr. Baines,
And you're welcome to. You get another 3 minutes at the when we do the next unscheduled communication.
Okay.
So you get to come back.
You guys understand what I'm here
And
for?
let me just say, Enrique, you know I'm with you 100%. And Enrique is right about the lack of response that has happened from this entire building. Along with, you're right. And you know where we stand. Our office is calling all the time on your behalf and trying to get the city services to move, but I can guarantee you that I appreciate you coming here today. I think that it's important for this, the rest of my colleagues to hear this and feel our frustration about this. But there needs to be something more that's done.
Yeah.
We need
change the law.
Yeah.
They cannot camp out or hang around there.
We need to do stuff like that, but we need to do all of that. So let me agree with you wholeheartedly. Thank you for coming here today. You know the respect I have for you is tremendous, and I feel the same way. So thank you.
Okay.
Can I just add one more thing? Thank you, Enrique, for coming and sharing your frustration. I believe that we all up here share the frustration in terms of dealing with homelessness because we have the issue impacting all of our districts. I will tell you that I know that there's an effort by our city and now our county to figure out, and this is going to be a topic of conversation. I'm part of the ad hoc committee where we're meeting on a much more regular basis, where the city and county is having a discussion as to how we can work together to address a number of issues, but homelessness is one of them. So know that at least you have my commitment. I know a number of my other colleagues are also part of that smaller group, but we are going to be having that conversation as to what else can we do and how can we leverage the resources that we have with our county, and also hopefully get some state and federal dollars to help address the multitude of problems that come with homelessness.
Thank you, Ms. Morales.
Enrique, so I just want to say I love the passion. I think very moving. I think you're going to see some follow through. I do want to say that we experience homelessness and vagrancy issues in North Fresno as well. Sometimes they're skewed a little bit differently than exactly some of the stuff that you're discussing, but many of the same problems and then some different problems. We've been experiencing homeless issues even down on the San Joaquin River bottom adjacent to my district. So it's citywide, and I hear you as well. Thanks.
Thank you.
I'd like to add that Member Baines and I started the Code Subcommittee to specifically address this issue and a couple others that permeate our entire community. But it's not easy. It seems like the solutions would be very quick and would be sufficient. But with lawsuits and all the things, it's very complicated, and you have so much oversight from those who claim to know more than we do as citizens of this community that we have to cover all those bases. So we're actively doing that. We had a meeting at lunch today, as a matter of fact, to discuss these, and we're in Sacramento on Monday, myself and Member Baines' staff and Member Soria, talking with Sacramento to get their input and ideas on what they do to handle these problems. So we're actively pursuing it, but it's unfortunate, a long, long, winding road. But we're not going to give up. We're not giving up. So
What I'd like to know, I'd like to be part of that, if we can help them represent the community, what they're going to do on this problem.
Let me just say this. Problem identification, got it.
Okay.
I mean, all my phone calls to my district, the same thing. And we've got MapPoint and a couple other things. I don't really think they're very effective. So we have to come up with a new idea, a new solution, or just hardcore enforcement like you suggested. So we are definitely working on that, and we're considering all options. So thanks for your input today. But we got the problem. Clearly, we understand that. But the solution is the complicated part of the formula and the answer. But thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, here, just to stay there for a second. In terms of just housekeeping, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 7 yellow cards from folks from the Chinatown Merchants Association, and then with you will be another 3 minutes if you so desire. I have to call that during unscheduled communication. Right now I'm going to take the 255 item, which is also a scheduled communication, and then at 3 o'clock we have a recognition of a esteemed citizen. I just want to say to you that 2 years ago I wrote an opinion piece for the Fresno Bee about the state of the homeless and the damage that they're causing in our city. That was the most read opinion piece in the Fresno Bee in 2015. It was the most read piece. It was the most controversial piece. I got hate mail for writing that from all over this country. I got hate mail from as far away as New York. How could you be so cold and cruel and heartless? And I was told, because I have folks who live in older neighborhoods in areas of high concentrated poverty who call me. It's the number one complaint my office receives is about homelessness and the damage that the homeless are doing to our city and to our parks, to our infrastructure, to small business. One of your competitors on Saginaw across from Fresno First Baptist has a methadone clinic next door to him, and people have to step over vagrants to get to their loved ones' funerals. So I've heard this before, but it's not cruel, it's not mean, it has to be dealt with. It's the number one problem facing this city. It's the number one complaint my office gets is homelessness, vagrancy, and the damage that it causes to small business and to our parks.
I just want to get that clear to you guys that we're not against the homeless. Believe me, it's just the things that they're getting away with. That's
Absolutely. So what we'll do is I have to call these timed items first, and then I'll go ahead and call our friends from Chinatown Merchants. It'll just be a few moments. Okay. We'll get to you as well for unscheduled communication. So thank you, Mr. Reed. Let's have Mary Esther Correa come forward. Give us your name and address for the record, and then you'll have 3 minutes as well. And then we'll have proclamation of, what's his name? Who is that? Ray. Oh.
My name is Mary Esther Correa. I was born and raised here, went to Fresno State, San Jose State, and Hawaii State. I have my teacher credentials, master's degree, and I own property here. I love Kerman, and my daughter's kids live in Kerman. And I lived there a long time, but Fresno's my place. I own and live at 3407 East Iowa Street, right up the street. Okay, well, I'm having problem with the code inspectors. They're fining me $12,000. And once I send an appeal, they should have stopped the fines, but they're not stopping it, okay? I had one unit all fixed up, and before they came, the day before they came, that night, I used to hear noises because I live in my property alone by myself. I've been here over 2 months because I'm being fined. I heard noises outside, but I'm not going to open the doors at night. But the day before the code enforcement came, I told you the last time that every unit 3403 was fixed, done. And I heard noises, and then when I got my property manager comes at night and locks all the gates and makes sure the lights are on, I get up in the morning and then turn the lights off to save energy. I walked in my unit, and there was this man sitting in there in the front room with something plugged into my wall. I said, what? It scared me to death. I almost had a heart attack because I was there by myself. I said, what are you doing in my house? He said, oh, I'm sorry. But I seen him jump over the 6-foot fence. He broke the lock to the door that was already fixed. He got a crowbar and he messed up all the door. And then the next day, my handyman didn't tell me. I didn't know that he had broken the door, the back door. And I got scared. I said, get out of my property. What are you doing here? I'm charging. I said, well, get out of my house before I call the cops. I went into defense mode. Then I'm sorry. Then he took off running. I'm going to call the cops. Up the street from where I live, on 4th Street, 4th and Madison, this man got killed, shot, and I was there when I went by there, and I saw them laying on the road, and nobody came out because people are afraid. I said, they said, wow. They didn't do nothing because they were afraid of getting shot. Today, I keep telling the force inspection that the 03 is done. But he now that guy from code they're still fining me, and I didn't know that the door was ruined, and they fined me for that. But then I've been telling him, I don't need to have a permit to patch up I took off the swamp coolers from the top of the roof because they were leaking, but they were fixed. They've been done. I had a professional contractor, and I said, do I need a permit? He says, no, because it's a patchwork, and you don't need a permit. They keep finding me. They say, you have to have a permit. I went today, and I sent you the notice from the permit department. It says here, his roof repairs not exceeding 100 square feet do not need a permit. And they're finding me, and what the heck should I go? Well, anyways, they're still finding me. This homeless man with a thing on his I could have been assaulted, but I went in defend most. I have my booklet here that I found within my files. Since 2012, I've had nothing but scamming tenants that trash my place, and they know what to do. They're welfare eaters. They have Social Security.
Ms. Correa, I'm sorry, your time is up.
Well, yeah, but you're not doing nothing about it. The code enforcement is fining me $12,000, and I'm not going to stop until my community is starting to get up petitions. This because they're getting robbed too.
Thank you.
But they don't want to call the police because they don't do nothing.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to our next item, the 3 o'clock item. It's Proclamation of Ray Appleton Day. Or should I say, Ray Appleton Day?
Hey, come on up, Ray. Yeah. Right on. We probably have given you a week's worth of talk shows just in the last 30 minutes, huh? All right. Yeah. Right. How you doing?
Good, man.
Good.
Nice car. Hey. Oh, you were here.
Look, we're showing some of your artwork up here.
What's that?
Yeah, there you are with the sheriff. We just had all the tattoos on your arm.
Great.
Yeah.
Super.
Oh, look, there's the mayor. So we're here today for a very special occasion. My office, Councilman Olivier, and the mayor all wanted to recognize Ray Appleton. You're coming up on your 30th year. I know the official day is like in October, right? October 19th, 30th year of broadcasting on KMJ.
The reason I'm looking at your tie,
okay,
this is exactly the suit I'm wearing Saturday.
Fantastic.
It matches your tie.
Well, I'll be there Saturday, but I'm not going to wear it. It's going to be 99 degrees on Saturday. Okay. And that's the reason we're celebrating today. You're having the big 30th party bash on Saturday. I've got my tickets. I'm going with the guy sitting in the back in that hat right there. And we're going to enjoy Cheap Trick and all the other great things that you're doing on Saturday. But we really wanted to take the time to recognize a 30-year career. And we're going to take turns saying a few things. But for me, shoot, Ray, it was about 26 years ago. I'd moved from Selma to Fresno. I got a job. I was working construction. And we had a guy that no music. We're listening to KMJ. And he got probably 7 construction guys connected to talk radio, and we never looked back. And so whereas I've got a lot of buddies that were doing music and sports, whenever it came my turn, I was talking about what I heard on the Ray Appleton program that day, what was happening on KMJ. And so I've heard even this week, I heard you talking about concealed carries. By the way, we've got a lot of concealed carries back here. Everybody's pretty safe. But, you over the course of time, you've tackled so many subjects. And I heard you say on the radio, even today, I was cleaning carpet earlier, and you said, I don't know why they're giving me an award. I'm doing what I love to do. I'm doing fun stuff. We're giving you an award because you entertained us and you educated us for 30 years. And that's something for our community. It's myself, but for the community of Fresno. To have that kind of an enduring voice in our community is very valuable. So we want to give you a proclamation today. But I'm going to give the microphone to my buddy Clint.
Okay. Well, the first time I ever really listened, I think you were working, maybe it was Christmas Eve or right around Christmas time in 2005. And I put it on KMJ because I was new to Fresno. And I put on, obviously, you listened to KMJ in Fresno. Put it on, and I was listening, and this guy was doing a story about what is right with Fresno. That was not a story. That was your topic that day. And people were calling in. Well, I'll never forget it because it was so good. It was so poignant and so important. Here is a guy, and I think you said, just call in, anybody, call in and talk about what you love about this community, because this community is too hard on itself. And just call in and share something fantastic. And that was your topic that day. And I thought, hey, this guy's right. This guy is he's a booster. And now that I've gotten to know you over the course of the past dozen years, I've learned about you. And I've learned the work that you've done in our community. You don't just talk on the radio. You've been an advocate for water. You fought the water wars. You have friends in high places that you bring to the valley to fight for the little guy. You helped fight for 3 strikes. You can count numerous lawmakers and other opinion makers, the President of the United States, as your friend and your friends. And we appreciate this. You've been the voice of the Central Valley. You've been the conscience of the Central Valley. And we appreciate your work so much. And so many times, my wife will call me, or I'll call somebody and say, hey, who's Appleton got on today? Who's Appleton got on today? That's the lifestyle we live in the Valley. If we're interested in current events and news and just to know what's happening, is what's Appleton got today? That's a phrase that's part of the living in the Valley. And that's a tribute to your body of work. And I've been on the wrong side of this guy, and I've been on the right side of this guy. If he disagrees with you, you can still go on his show, and he'll give you a fair shake, and he'll hear you out. I went on there for something. I upset him about something once. This was years and years ago. And I thought I really understood what I was going to make a very articulate argument, and I was going to win him over on the air and explain it to him. And if you haven't seen Ray in the studio, then he's kind of in there, and the mic's here, and he looks out over his glasses. And so I explain myself to him, and he goes, I don't get it. And I start to sweat, and the sweat on my lip, and the sweat on my temples. And okay, so I explain it again. He's like, I still don't understand. And it was awful. And so it ended up being that I was unable to really explain myself and win Ray over. But it was a good experience. And like I said, he's fair and he is balanced. I got another chance to come on his program later, and I think that we've really found a whole lot of common ground in this community. And he's been a very welcoming person for me in the studio. When I'm there. And so you deserve this. You deserve this, and it should be somewhere on there that it's a phrase in the Central Valley. Hey, who did Appleton have on today? What's he got on today? And that in and of itself is a tribute to your body of work in this community. So thank you.
Okay, I'm not going to talk about the SPCA.
Oh, that one.
I
knew what the issue was.
I was going through my head trying to figure out what the hell that was.
That's what it was.
That's right. I forgot.
Mayor.
Ray has a real passion for all his issues, and I think he and I go back a lot further, back to the days, KFIG? Oh, God. So, but his time on KMJ has been, as Clint has said, has been an important voice, a powerful voice for the Valley. He's hosted presidents, governors, important people. He's done a lot on every issue because not only do you entertain, you're a powerful advocate for causes. As you mentioned, Clint, you were out in the water days, the water wars that started a few years ago. You were leading the charge, walking down, I think, the San Luis Reservoir with a lot of people. 3 strikes was a major issue that you helped promote. And I can just go on and on and on about the issues that you've made a difference. And you've also been a great entertainer, too. You're funny, articulate. And I've been in many interviews over the last 8+ years. And Ray, in all sincerity, you're the most professional because you let us talk. I've got other talk show hosts. They'll talk and talk, and they'll talk over you. You always let us talk. I probably talk too much sometimes. But I really appreciate the value you've brought to the Valley and my issues, the many times you've gave me the opportunity to come on your show. Not all of them are always good. Sometimes a few things I did you didn't quite understand, or maybe I didn't understand. But I appreciate your honesty. And you've always been a good advocate for Fresno. And I'm honored to be here today for Ray Appleton Day. And I hope that
I get a day?
you get your own day for Fresno.
Jeez.
Let's give him a hand, everybody.
Yeah.
And I hope you're here another 30 years, Ray.
Oh, God. Hey, pass him the microphone.
And Ray, this is your opportunity to rebut us all.
I'm speechless. Thank you. I don't really know what to say. Like I've been saying on the air, it's kind of weird to get something for having 30 years of fun, you know, duping the public, as I say from time to time, beating the system, because I don't consider, you know, having ever had a real job in my adult life. I mean, this is all I've done for, well, I got into radio here in '69, so it's been like 48 years. Yakking on Fresno radio, which is a long time to not have a real job, but thank you all for letting me not have to really work and get this award. I love it. Thank you kindly.
Hey, Steve. Steve,
Yeah.
you get a chance.
Did you want? Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Ray, I just wanted to also congratulate you on 30 years. I have tremendous respect for what you do, and I think these gentlemen have said it quite well. For 30 years, you've entertained. You've been one of the loudest and strongest, most passionate voices for the Central Valley and for the city of Fresno. And you and I have, of course, debated on many issues. I have tremendous respect for your passion for this city, and this is a great award and a well-deserved award. Congratulations on Ray Appleton Day, Ray.
All right. Ray, I'm going to, Clint's got a proclamation that we're going to give to you, and I'm going to read the paper version of that while he holds it. So this is one of those things, Ray, we do all the time, a lot of whereases, but the information's in here. Whereas Ray Appleton began his legendary career as a radio talk show host in 1969 and joined the KMJ team on October 19th, 1987. And whereas Ray Appleton is a Fresno native who attended Fort Miller Junior High and graduated McLean High School in 1968. Nobody needs to do the math there. Ray attended Fresno City College, studied history and anthropology at Fresno State, studied biology at the University of California at Santa Cruz. And whereas Ray Appleton has had the privilege of hosting President Trump, President Bush, President Clinton, President Bush Sr., Governor Schwarzenegger, Governor Wilson, Governor Duke Majan, and Governor Jerry Brown on his talk show.
No, never Brown.
No.
Well,
Wow.
when he was Attorney General, yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Whereas Ray Appleton, a talented musician and actor, plays bass for the Appletones, which a couple of your bandmates are here today, performs with the Sons of the San Joaquin, recording 5 albums with the group, and was in Alan Autry's movie Forgiven. And whereas Ray Appleton has played an instrumental role advocating fundraising for issues in the community, such as California's water wars, Central Valley SPCA, the Fresno Chaffee Zoo, whereas Ray Appleton is the proud father to 3 children, Paul, Grace, and Rory. I think I saw Rory around. Whereas, yeah?
Granddaughter.
Oh, cool. Well, we're going to have you ladies come up in a minute, too, then. And whereas the city of Fresno recognizes that Ray Appleton is the Valley's news talk industry, I think I might have messed that line up, and therefore,
I'm not the industry.
be it resolved that we, Mayor Lee Brand, Fresno City Council members, do hereby honor, recognize, and proclaim Thursday, May 18th, 2017 to be Ray Appleton Day. Another round of applause for Ray. All right. Clint, can you hand me that other little gift? What's that? Oh, yeah, we're going to do a couple photos here. We have another, we have another little gift for you, too, Ray. Crystal microphone cool. Right there.
That is very cool.
30 years of broadcast excellence in the community of Fresno.
I love that.
So I don't know if you can hold both, but we'll just let you do that. Yeah. And then we'll grab a couple photos here. Let's get Rory and let's get your kids up here.
Sure.
Right? So yeah. Yeah.
A box.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Lori, the great journalist.
Yeah.
My daughter, the great, what are you now? Animal wrangler.
Yes, animal
My
wrangler.
granddaughter,
That's
Lori.
right. Right on, Lori. Photos? Fantastic.
Yeah, yeah. Are you going to be there?
Right on,
Thank you
Ray.
all, man.
You got it. You got it.
Thank you all.
And Blake, I think there's still tickets available for Saturday's event. I saw Blake here, so you can go on kmjnow.com and get some tickets.
Kid Steve, thanks.
Got a hug to pass the check.
And now we'll do recognition of the City of Fresno Youth Commissioners. Councilmember Soria.
Man, I was going to say, hey, Oliver's.
Exactly. Prove that I exist.
All right, Councilman Olivier snuck out of the building for a few seconds, so we're going to go to unscheduled communication, and that is from some of the Chinatown community have turned in cards. So we're just going to work through the cards in the order that Clint had them here. And so the first one up is Mark Carson. Mark, come on up. After Mark is going to be Rosemary. Wrong line there, Steve. Rosemary, and then Barbara. So if you ladies will get ready, and you're up right after Mark.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Mark Carson, general contractor who's recently just moved here to the Chinatown area. I've been in central Fresno for several years, but had an opportunity to buy a building for my own, for our business. But I just, not just coming with just complaints and concerns, but I also appreciate what the city does to, at this time, to police or maintain as best as they can. I'd like to see more of that. Along the, I'm on E Street, but the street cleaners, they do a pretty good job of coming down daily or as much as possible, or as I don't know their actual routine, but I'm grateful for the time that they do come. The concern that I have is of all of the homelessness, but I understand we're doing, and I have no problem with people that are down on their luck and they need the necessities. But my concern is what we just, I would petition the city to come up with a good idea or how to assist these people or transition these people, not only just feed them and turn them loose, but because they need restrooms and facilities, temporary facilities, even to maintain, just so that they're not going to the restroom on our street or out in front of our businesses and around our corners in every little nook and cranny. As Enrique had made mention of, and I'll be brief here, and that is that we're at the gateway to the city, and I just think that if we just take a more proactive approach on that policing of or the cleanliness of the area, to remove the trash, debris, and the people along, so that they're just not vandalizing our properties and making those the waste sites around the city. I thank you for your time and listening to my ear.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Rosemary Moreno.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon. I'm here to address, I've been in West Fresno, Chinatown.
Does this thing go down? Oh, right here. There you go, so they can see you.
Well, I'm not going to step on it. I'm just going to speak on it. I've been in Chinatown. I've had an immigration project there, and I was very happy to see the Mexican consulate get acknowledged today. Well, I serve the same people he services, and I serve them in West Fresno. I chose my office there. They chose to go out on Herndon and Ingram, so there's a big difference. My concerns aren't necessarily going to be his concerns. My concerns are, number one, that I have people from, besides Fresno, I have people coming from all over, and they also get panhandled. They also get, some people, if they don't give money, they break their windshield wipers. I mean, and I've been there 25 years, and I believe through 4 mayors or 5, I can't remember. The only thing that's changed is the type of homelessness that we have. Before, you could tell a homelessness, get out of here, here's $1, and they would go. But we have a different element. We have in Chinatown drug transactions, and I can't be the smartest one there that can't figure that out. I'm talking about law enforcement. I'm talking about other people that are in that type of business. Is my time up?
You have 1 minute.
Oh, 1 minute? Okay. And, this is something that has to be resolved by all of us. Homelessness didn't start yesterday. It's just that we let it graduate to this degree, and now I don't know if there is a solution, but all of a sudden, as long as the homelessness stayed in Chinatown, which it has for 25 years that I have knowledge of, it was okay because it was at least encircled. See, nobody, and now with our high-speed train coming, I'm sure, Ventura and Fresno Street off-ramps need to be worked on. Chinatown in general, West Fresno, whatever you want to call it, from the bridge to that side, I don't know. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next, we have Barbara Wilson, Renata Carter, and Kathy, in that order. And if you could state your name and your address for the record.
Barbara Wilson, 1129 F Street, Fresno, California. City Council persons, it is past time for the City of Fresno to step up and take responsibility to maintain a clean and safe environment in Chinatown. The homeless is a serious issue we property owners and merchants have faced for several years in Chinatown. Daily, we are fighting the homeless issue that we did not ask for or want in our community. Property owners in Chinatown have to be security officers. We have to patrol our property or hire our on-site security so customers will feel safe. We have to be utility workers, cleaning up trash, removing furniture, human feces, and drug paraphernalia. The homeless pile their belongings on our property and in front of our businesses every night. We have to be general contractors and repair and mending fences and replacing gate locks cut by homeless each night. We are penalized with high-dollar fines for code enforcement because of destructive actions done by the homeless. We should not be penalized by the city for destruction and vandalism done to our property by the homeless. The city should stop charging the property and business owners in Chinatown for code violations done by the homeless. Budget needs to be set aside for the city to cover these costs. We have a decline in our customer base coming to patronize our businesses and rental spaces. The homeless situation in Chinatown is hurting our pockets. And when we do not make money, the city doesn't make money. Old and new customers are afraid to come to Chinatown because of the homeless situation. The homeless violate Chinatown every day. They pile their belongings on the sidewalks and in the alleys. We would like to see the bicycle cops come back to Chinatown during the week and weekends. It would be nice if when the cops see the homeless loitering to enforce the no loitering law. It would be nice if the cops patrolling can stop the homeless from piling their belongings on our property and on the public walkways and our alleys. The police presence this year has been low and inconsistent. Only recently, since requesting to be on your agenda, have we seen more police presence and the utility people coming through and picking up the trash the homeless leave. The city needs to take more responsibility with the homeless issue in Chinatown. The city would not allow us to pile trash and park our cars in the street and leave it. The same laws in place for me should be enforced with the homeless. We would like to see the city implement a designated area for the homeless where they can park their belongings and set up their camps and stay at night. Homeless should not camp in front of our businesses or on our property. When the homeless do this, they break into our property and destroy our businesses and our property. One area that I believe a good place for the homeless camp and park their belongings is the lawn area between Tulare and Fresno Street at Van Ness. The city can build bathrooms with toilets and sinks in the downtown areas for the homeless to have access to relieve themselves, rather than in our alleys or in front of our businesses and on our property. We should not have to deal with these issues. It is unacceptable for the city to leave us to deal with the homeless. For an example of a city making accommodations for the homeless is San Francisco, where they built bathrooms for the homeless. One is located across from City Hall. We asked the City Council to address the homeless issue and implement a plan to resolve the destructive and unsanitary situations we have been facing every day for several years. We are fed up and we're tired. Our properties are destroyed and businesses are failing. We need customers to come back to Chinatown to patronize our businesses and rent our rental spaces without being afraid. We need your help and ask that a reasonable solution be developed for all parties, the homeless, property and business owners, and the city. I hope and pray you come on board and join us to make this necessary improvement in Chinatown.
Barbara?
My name is Barbara Wilson, and I thank you for this opportunity to speak.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Next, we have Reneta. I don't know if I got your name correct. And then Kathy Omachi.
Good afternoon, City Council. My name is Renata Carter Ford. I'm on the property at 1142 F Street. And like Enrique said, I want you to visualize something. On my right here today from F Street, I took Tulare. And on my way between Fresno and Tulare Street, I counted over 15 homeless people on the sidewalk. As I drove into downtown, I saw possibly 4. 3 of them were in Courthouse Park. One of them was at the federal courthouse, sitting on the grass, or on a chair, actually. This is something that we see every day, 20 or more homeless people lying on the sidewalk. My property is close to the Welcome to Fresno sign, the arch. Do you know who our greeters are when you get welcomed into Fresno? Homeless people lying on the sidewalks, lying in front of buildings. That's the first impression people see. Welcome to Fresno. You are greeted by poverty and blight. And that's our responsibility, your responsibility, to do something about that. I can record how many times I've called the police department. Once for a person having a fire on the sidewalk across the street from my property. I was told they're cold. It's a public sidewalk. It's okay. Is that okay? I've never seen a fire on the sidewalk in River Park or anywhere else north of Fresno. I've called before for a person shooting up on the sidewalk, pulling out a needle in front of me, putting it in his foot and shooting up, wiping the blood off with his hand onto the sidewalk. I called about that. Police officer showed up, did not get out of his car, went on the loudspeaker to say, "Could you move, please?" I called back because the officer drove away. After 15 minutes of sitting in his car, he drove away. Didn't get out, didn't say anything to the person. He came back. I approached him. "Oh, the man is asleep." So what? He's asleep. The man is shooting up with a needle on a sidewalk in front of families. But that's allowed in Chinatown. This is the kind of stuff that we see every day in Chinatown. But no one else is doing anything about it. Everyone is turning a blind eye to these things. The people that should be responsible for this type of stuff, the people that we elected as a community to be in charge and responsible for making sure that we have a safe environment to go to. I don't want to bring my children anywhere where they're in danger of getting stuck by needles when we get out of the car to walk onto my property. I don't want them to be exposed to people who come onto my property and take baths in the water faucet. And I call the city about that, and they tell me, cap it off. Why should I have to cap off my property because the police department that our taxes pay for and the city council people that we elected into these positions don't want to do or take responsibility for assisting us in these positions? I understand that there's committees and there's all these talks about what do we do about the homelessness around Fresno. But that's all there is. That's all I've seen for the last 10 years is talks and committees. Who's actually taking action? And when you are taking action, where are you taking action at? I see action being taken place in downtown. Like I said, I saw 20 people in just a scan of a block on my way here. 3 in downtown because we're revitalizing downtown area. You don't want homelessness in downtown. So you were able to do something about it to get these people away from there.
Renata,
you don't want it seen.
Can you wrap it up? Your time is up. So that
I'm wrapping it up.
Thank you.
Thank you. My issue is, like everyone else that has been up here, is that there needs to be less talk and more action with helping the businesses that have invested their money and their time in the Chinatown area. We need to be treated with the same respect that is given to downtown, which is just across the streets, and across town. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Kathy, and then after Kathy, I have Jimmy.
Good afternoon. My name is Kathy Omachi, 759 F Street, Reedley, currently chair for the Chinatown Revitalization Group. I've been before you for many years. Most of you are pretty sick of seeing me. And not to say that I'm not thrilled to sit here and be in your meetings, but we need help. If people ever wanted to kill Chinatown, damn good job going on right now. As a community group, we have been in a force for about 22 years. I've been involved in the area for 27, and my family has been in the Fresno Chinatown area, Sanger River Bottom, and Fresno for about 120 years. We have actually helped with the FACTS group reestablish the first bus system to go through Chinatown and connect both Ventura and Fresno Street. We were able to work with a wonderful department in the city to remove the 300 parking meters that were put in that didn't make any sense for the most blighted area in Fresno to have put in, that you expended money to put in 300 parking meters. That was stated by the then director to encourage people to use the city parking lot for the stadium. And please don't get me started on the stadium. Since we had lost $600,000 of our redevelopment funds, Southwest Fresno lost about $120,000 for the sewer system that was supposed to eventually be paid back when the stadium is successful. We're not holding our breath. What you have before you is that a new group has come before you with concerns that you have heard from us for over 20 years. What we have is an illness in Chinatown and other parts of Fresno, and it's the 4 Ds. And the first D is disbelief. People just can't believe that this is going on. The second D is discredit. Effort is put in to discredit any of the comments that come before you or are brought to any of the departments. And lastly, the one that really kills us is when we are dismissed. And I'm afraid that is happening again. One of the things that you could really work on with us in the Chinatown area is to get high-speed rail to reconsider the closure of Tulare Street for 2 years. What in their record have they done 2 years of blocking off a street for an underpass, overpass, or flight off into the sky? What you have are 4 businesses that are ethnically owned minority businesses that are going to be cut off from the street. If you just move the blocking from F Street to China Alley, and I will wrap up, you will save those 4 businesses in the next 2 years from having to close. Those are the considerations that we do ask you. Again, the rampant drug issues in Chinatown are the basic ones, and I will finish up right now. It's if you want to buy your heroin, if you want to buy your crack, if you want to buy your marijuana, then you come into Chinatown.
Thank you, Kathy.
But thank you.
Next,
Kathy, really quick, what was your recommendation for that closure? You said change it.
If you could work with high-speed rail rather than having the closure start at F Street, which affects 3 businesses right on the corner, just to China Alley, which is about half of a block. Because once it's moved back the half block, then there aren't any businesses that would be directly affected.
Let me just ask you, this is the first I've heard of that. Have you communicated with anyone from High Speed Rail and about that very issue?
Tudor Farini chooses not to return phone calls.
Okay. All right.
But yes.
But thank you for telling me that, because I certainly will reach out to them. That's a great suggestion.
Thank you, because now the closure is supposed to be June 1st. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Next, we have Jimmy, and then last, Sue.
Hi, I'm Jimmy Bogdanovich, and I work at 1235 E Street at a methadone clinic. I'm here with the Chinatown Merchants Association because we were on the neighbor's site and saw that there were complaints about our clinic in Van Ness, at Van Ness. So we boldly went into this meeting. It was at one of the establishments, the businesses where the Chinatown Merchants Associations meet. So we heard their complaints about homeless people, drug users, and the vandalism, burglaries, all the things that have been going on in our facility. And I've been coming down to Chinatown for one reason or another for about 50 years. So drugs and pimps and all that stuff's been going on here for a long time. The homeless problem seems to have just exploded. So, as I said, we started off meeting with the Chinatown Merchants Association. So after we heard some of their complaints, we decided to investigate our patients. And we came up with about 2% of our patients are homeless. So we instigated a good neighbor policy wherein our security people go around to each business, contact an employee there 2 times a day, and see if there are any problems. They carry a log. They see any of our patients, they write it down. If they're on the log, the next day we bring the patients in, they get 2 chances. The third one, they're kicked off our program. And all of our methadone clinics in town are practicing this. So, as these folks have stated, we've been vandalized, burglarized, come to work with people on our front door. They're not our clients. I know, as I said, about 2% of our patients are homeless, but the majority of our patients aren't, and we have over 600 patients there. If one were going to complain about our block, the General Relief building in front of our facility has been a big nuisance to us. In fact, they've even had a drive-by there, which scared the heck out of us. But they don't patrol outside. All they do is they have scanners inside the front door, and so they check to make sure people don't have any weapons on them.
Jimmy,
But
can you wrap up?
Yeah, I will. I just want to say one thing. What we've noticed, we've had to install cameras. So we've noticed that the people stash their weapons in bushes and trees and then go in there. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Last, we have Sue Ewart.
Sir, can you tell me your name again? The gentleman who just spoke? Yes. Uh-huh.
Here it is.
Okay, I'll get it off your card. You're not affiliated with the facility at Blackstone and Saginaw, are you?
That's not a methadone clinic.
Oh, okay.
It's a
drop-in center.
facility that they're having NA meetings at.
It's a drop-in
even
center.
Maybe I'll connect with you
Yeah.
later. I appreciate the work you're doing. Thank you.
Great, you can call me at that East Street clinic. I'd be glad
I don't
to
think
talk
we
to
have
you.
we didn't leave a phone number. Anyway, my name is Sue Ewert, E-W-E-R-T, 1235 East Street, and I am the treatment center director for the BART Methadone Clinic on East Street and one on Cartwright, which is out on Chestnut and Central. And he stole pretty much most of my thunder, but I was going to say that there is not a methadone clinic on Saginaw. That I believe you're referring to the Blue Sky Wellness, and that is, my understanding is it's a drop-in center, I think mostly for mentally ill people, but I'm not sure exactly who all goes there. And I know that Jimmy was telling you a little bit about how we got involved with Chinatown Merchants Association, and I know that people always they see a drug treatment program and they think this is what the problem is because there are all these drug addicts. Well, part of the problem is that the draw for the drug dealers is here is a population that they can easily try to manipulate. And so while the drug dealers are not on our programs, they are targeting our people, and they are often hanging around there. And we have all, other businesses there, and we have called when we see people trying to harass our patients or doing drug deals out in the street. And by the time the police get there, oftentimes those people are already gone. They move around pretty quickly. Just the other day, we had somebody that wandered by the clinic from the general relief office, wasn't our patient, and someone from the street just came running up and just started beating him up. And so here we have this huge fight out in the middle of, in front of our clinic, and it involved none of the people from our program. But anybody that would have driven by and seen it would have just said, "Oh, look at all those drug addicts there." And, but this is a treatment program. This is where people are going to try to get better. And we are trying to keep this area, can make it an area for them to be able to get better too. And it's difficult when you have all these other people hanging around. We have all of the people from General Relief coming over and hassling with our patients. But because Jimmy said, it's about 2% of the population, of our population, is homeless. The other 98%, you never even see. They drive into the program, they drive out, and they're gone. And so, we have, when we started this policy of kicking off anybody that was loitering, we have kicked off 3 people. And that's it. We have, I've gotten the sheets from the last, 3 weeks, a month, and we don't have any of our patients that are loitering anymore. They've gotten that message. We do have some people that live in that area, and those are the people that we were having problems with. They live in the apartments across the street, and so we've told them, you just can't be out on the street, if we see you. And so they've done that for us too, because they're concerned about the program also. So I really appreciate you listening to us today.
Thank you, Sue.
Thank you, and thank you, Vice President Soria. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak for unscheduled communication that includes any item that's not contained on the agenda? Please come forward at this time. Okay. With that, we will go ahead and close unscheduled communication. And just from me to the folks who came to speak today about the issue, I don't think I made it clear what happened exactly when I wrote that editorial for the Fresno Bee. I was attacked in the hate mail I received and in social media for being an inhuman monster. And all I said was that I have constituents in my district who live in Old Fig who are very wealthy, and they complain about homeless issues. And I have constituents at Cedar and Tulare who are very poor and in some cases don't speak English. And when they call to complain, we take their complaint in Spanish. And I said that no matter which socioeconomic background you're from in my district, which I'm assuming in the entire city of Fresno, you are going to be frustrated by what's happening to your home, your neighborhood, or your business because of vagrancy. And in some of the pieces of mail I received was, tell your constituents to get over it, is what they told me. So I'm telling you this because if the city of Fresno decides that it wants to combat vagrancy on behalf of its business owners, on behalf of its residents, it is going to get... it will be any politician, council member, mayor who brings forward a comprehensive plan to end vagrancy and get them away from our businesses and our neighborhoods is going to be absolutely attacked. So it's going to take the political will from a council member or someone else, and also strength and backbone from our business owners, because everyone is afraid to be called out and to be called inhuman, to be called insensitive, to be called cruel. And well, if you're not, then we're going to need you, because if moving forward, we're going to have to address this, council, and I won't be around to see it, go all the way through because I'm termed out. But council, it's a big issue, and I think that it's worth sticking our necks out on it. But the very tolerant and progressive and loving elements of who live in this city will rip you to shreds, because they will tell you, clean up your stuff, cap your water pipes, and just deal with it, because you're greedy business owners and you need to be more tolerant. Right. And thank you all for coming today. Thank you all for coming today very much. Okay, with unscheduled communication closed, we move now to recognition of Fresno Youth Commissioners, and we'll turn it back over to Councilmember Soria.
Thank you, Council President. I want to thank the youth commissioners for being patient with us. I know that we're running behind schedule, but thank you all for being here. It's an exciting afternoon that we're celebrating essentially about 1 year that the youth commissioners came on board. This council approved the first funded youth commission back in 2015. So I am very grateful for a number of my colleagues up here who worked hard to make this happen, and for the support of our previous administration and our current mayor who was on the council at the time. So we thought it was important to recognize the work that the young people have been doing for this past year. There's 4 of the youth commissioners that will be graduating, so we wanted to also acknowledge them and recognize them for the service. There's a few of them that will be leaving to college, so they will be leaving their youth commission posts, but we are very grateful for the service. I know that you guys were well represented a few weeks ago, maybe over a month ago, when we had youth commissioners here presenting the ideas and the issues that you guys believe are important and that you guys want us to invest in. So we heard, and I'm hopeful that our mayor and our administration is taking into consideration some of the policy proposals, because I do believe that investing in our youth is very critical these days, especially with job opportunities. And so we're hoping that this council and the mayor will support some of these efforts that you guys have put forth in really proposing to us. So with that, what I want to do, I want to call the commissioners that are represented here one will start calling the mayor's office, but then each council member, and we want to take a picture with the council member and their commissioner, so I will be calling you guys down in the order by council districts. So bear with me, and then at the end, all the youth commissioners, we can all take a picture together. But first, we will start off with, and I don't know if anyone from the mayor's office is here. Is he? Well, why don't I do this? I will first start maybe with Yami, and we'll invite Yami up, because Yami is representing here Youth Leadership Institute. And Youth Leadership Institute was actually the organization that we selected through the RFP process to partner with us in leading the efforts of the Youth Commission. And so maybe you can speak. You guys have been working. I know that we have your staff member here that has been working with the young people, but you guys can speak to maybe some of the things that you guys have been doing, and then we'll do the recognition shortly thereafter. And give, hopefully, if the mayor or someone from the mayor's office wants to join us.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Councilwoman. Thank you, council members, for having us here and for recognizing the young people and for taking time to meet with them on such a regular basis. I do want to thank all the youth commissioners that are here. We have a few that are absent because there's some testing going on at school and they couldn't get away, but we definitely congratulate you on a completed year and all the good work that you've been doing. I want to acknowledge the YLI team. We have several representatives from our YLI team who are here. Yay! Yes. And Jose Espinosa is the staff member that is assigned to the Youth Commission. And we also have our CEO who came to be here to support the young people. John Marker, thank you so much for being here also. But incredible and exciting things that the young people are doing. As you know, about a month ago, they came and presented to the council members on the proposal for paid internships. And also to make the website a little bit more youth-friendly. But they have an exciting town hall coming up, and that town hall is going to be a space where they can have young people from all over Fresno at the end of summer to discuss this issue of youth opportunities when it comes to access to jobs, access to internships, and also civic engagement. This whole concept of voting at the age of 16 for school board, it's something that they're very interested in, and they want to dig a little bit deeper in that. So all under the umbrella of youth opportunities. These young people have been working heavily on this. A lot of research goes into this and a lot of time. So this is exciting. It will be at Fresno State, the town hall. And so they will be letting the council members know about that and inviting you to attend.
Thank you, Yami. Thank you to the YLI staff for all the work that you guys have put in over this past year. We are proud to partner with you all. I want to thank the mayor for taking the time and being here. So we'll start with his office, his two appointees. We have Jason Phillips, if you want to come on up. And then we also have Neng Thao. And it is great because these two young men are graduating this year, and they're both attending college. They are actually, so Neng Thao has been accepted and will be attending UC Berkeley this fall. So we're very proud of you. Go Bears. I went to Cal. And Jason Phillips will also be graduating this year, and he is attending Fresno State, so go Bulldogs. Staying here locally, so Nang will be leaving us, but so you'll have one seat to fill, Mayor. But Jason will continue his work as a youth commissioner, now as a student at Fresno State. So thank you, gentlemen, for the work that you guys have done. We're very proud of you guys graduating and making it through, and we look forward to seeing you guys, seeing Nang come back after you graduate and serving your community, and we look forward to having your service continued in the Youth Commission. So thank you, and thank you, Mayor, for being here. If you want to, Mayor, do you want to say?
Well, I just want to state that I really appreciate what you guys are doing. For the council who authorized this about a year ago, right? You had a great idea, you and Councilmember Baines, that connecting these young people to City Hall and civics. And these guys are the future leaders of Fresno. And whatever we can do to promote that and to educate you guys, and I'm all for it and wish you the best of luck.
Hopefully providing some seed money for internship programs in the budget this year. Next we have, let me see, from District 2. Councilmember Steve Brandow. And we have Chandler Valadajan. I can't even, sorry, I can't say your name. And Nina Narahari.
Valagenian. Okay. It's Armenian. I figured.
Hi, Chandler.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Thank you, ladies.
Do you want to go in the middle of it? Yes, absolutely. Perfect. All right, so we're going to take a picture. Can I just say something too? All right. So how long have you guys been on the job? Like a year, right? 1 year. So far, so good?
Yeah.
The program seem to be working?
Yep.
You feel like you're being included for sure, probably. For sure. And now, how about you feel like the group is accomplishing some cool stuff or working on some good things?
Yes, I think so.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? What do you guys like about it? Put them on the spot.
Pressure.
Pressure. That's what the whole thing's about. Life is pressure.
Well, we're getting ready to do our town hall coming up in June, and we're going to be able to have every district represented with different youth, and so we'll be able to tell them our ideas and hopefully be able to get through them, to get to them, and hopefully they'll agree with us.
That's always good. Huh?
But I just like to be able to make the change and be a voice for youth in Fresno.
Fantastic, Chandler. How about you, Nina? You want to add anything? Yeah, good job, Chandler.
Yeah, we're addressing the issues that we think are important to youth, and we're working on opportunities for the youth in terms of paid internships and lowering the voting age to 16 for school boards. And yeah, we feel like we're going to make a difference for the youth in Fresno and give them more opportunities.
Fantastic. And Yami, I met with these two here a couple months ago probably, so they're kind of keeping me up to speed on what everything's been working on. So thank you for including them, and congratulations for a successful year to everybody, not just you two. So good seeing you again. Right on, Shane.
Thank you, and hopefully we can count on your support for some seed money for internships, paid internships for the young people. Next is my council colleague, Oliver Baines. No? Okay, we'll move on to District 4, and then we'll come back. Paul Capriolio, come on down. We have Marissa Vang and also Adriana, no, just Marissa Vang. Oh, yeah. Yes. Perfect. Well represented. Do you want to say a little something?
Of course I want to say something. This lady is going to be president someday. No doubt in my mind. She and our colleague came down to meet with me. And, you see these youthful people here and you kind of think, they're young, When they finish with me, I'm going, my goodness, these people are fantastic. I mean, they're well prepared, articulate, committed, passion. You have all the ingredients to be a political leader, and just a great attribute. Absolutely. They can take my spot maybe now. I don't know. We'll talk about that. But I thank you so much for everything you've done for our community, your entire team here, Yami, everybody. You guys are just fantastic, and can't say enough about how thankful we are for you to be here and your future in Fresno. I stress Fresno, Fresno State. I'm alumni. Go Dogs. Come on. So thank you again. Appreciate it very much.
And I also, go ahead. Also, I wanted to share that Marissa is also one of the ones that will be graduating this year and will be leaving Fresno, but we wish her luck. She will be attending Dominican University. So thank you for your work, Marissa. Thank you for your energy and for making a difference in the city of Fresno. We were grateful to have you. So, and we wish you luck. I think, did you want to? Let her go. So we wanted to also give you a few minutes to share and represent and tell us, what you've learned and what you've gone out of the Youth Commission.
For sure. So the experience with the Youth Commission so far, now that we're in our first year, we should probably give thanks to BMOC for advocating so hard for this to all happen. They advocated for a long time, and then finally in 2015 it got to happen, and here we are sitting in the seats that we're in right now. But the experience so far has been amazing for me personally, since I do want to be eventually up here in a couple of years soon.
Four years. I've got 4 more.
Well, we'll keep it at 7 then.
Yeah,
in 7 years, I'll see all you guys again. But this has given me like a chance to kind of step into the light and see what the field is really like. I'm getting to see what it's like to engage civically, to see what you all are doing up here as we come in every so meetings, and seeing that you all still honor and care about the youth voice. And so hopefully as the years go by and as we come back here, Jason, if you ever come up here as well, all the former youth commissioners come up here, we'll also bring that youth voice support along with it. So that's a little bit about what I have to say.
Thank you, Marissa. Next, District 5. Come on down, Mr. Luis Chavez. And for District 5 representing, we have Adriana Reyes Guzman and Yvette Flores. Come on down, ladies.
So these two ladies are just absolutely amazing. We've had a couple of meetings. Yami facilitated a good part of that conversation. And so out of those conversations, I really got to thinking, and we had spoke a little bit about some projects that we had going on in Southeast Fresno, but I also wanted to take the time to announce, my colleagues are going to hate me, that I'm going to be setting aside a little bit of money from our budget in our district, and we're going to let them go through a process of selecting an organization or a group or a program that they feel would be great for the community. And so we're going to get started on that right after this budget. And the reason for that is because we want to encourage them to take that leadership role and really be participating in the work that we do. And a big part of that is being a good steward of taxpayer dollars. And so that'll be part of the process, and I think will be great for them. Because if they don't pick the right one, then people can get mad at them too, not just me. But I'll let them say a few words.
Thank you. That's super exciting. Did not know that. Now I'm super excited. I think this experience was super great. The Youth Leadership Institute has been doing such a great job training us and getting us to bond with each other and really teaching us what it's like to be mini council members. And it's been really great job. And I just want to thank like the Youth Leadership Institute and all of the members who are working with our really crazy schedules and meeting with us and just encouraging us to be awesome like we already are.
Thank you. Also, just first of all, also want to thank everyone for supporting us and being encouraging and letting us kind of have our own ideas and work on them, to kind of build on them, to kind of do what we want to do, not only for us, but for everyone. And yeah, I'd just like to say thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, guys.
I don't see our council member from District 6, so we'll wait. Next, we have, come on down, Council Member or Council President Clint Olivier. And if you want to join us, Gabriel Murillo and Miranda Lara.
All right. Just wanted to, everything really that could be said has been said. Fantastic group of young people and great program. Thank you so much for taking part in this. You guys are great, and this is all very well deserved. We have a meeting, right, coming up? Okay, we will.
We're going to convince him, right, to support.
Is this a lobbying activity, or are you trying to recognize these people? All right, this one's for you. Congratulations. Everybody, one on each side.
Thank you. Next, we have Council District 3, Mr. Oliver Baines, and his youth commissioner. Sorry, I just dropped it. Jovan Mendez.
So listen, I had the pleasure of just chatting with Jovan just the other day. He came in the office and ran down to me the list of priorities and the things that he wanted to see happen. And at that moment, I can remember when Esmeralda and I thought about this a couple years ago when we were first talking with you, Yami. I'll tell you that I was so impressed with the program and what we are producing. I realized at that moment we are producing young leaders, and that was precisely the idea that we wanted to do. What we wanted is we wanted to bring, to the best of our ability, bring young people in to leadership positions, into policy-making roles where they could think through problems and issues and then come out and say, these are our recommended solutions. And that is precisely what happened. So I want to thank you, Jovan, for all of the hard work you've done. I want to thank you for all the thoughtful engagement you've had. I want to thank you for how perfect you were with me. He was a perfect young man, and that's what we want. And I want to thank Yami and Jose and the entire team for all you guys do. This is what we wanted when we envisioned it, and I'm very proud of what our products are. So thank you, and I think I have a certificate, and I think we're going to take a picture. But Esmeralda, you trying to get my picture? No.
But you're welcome to be in the picture. I'll hold the
Okay, Mom.
Perfect. Yeah, we made them all for us. Yeah. We all signed. Jovan, do you want to say anything? Or?
Say anything? Yeah.
Sure. Yes, I would just like to say I'm very grateful, first of all, and just grateful for the position I've been applied to. Even the opportunity of being a leader is very, very hard for somebody to fulfill. And I'm grateful to be trained, to be supported, and to be really, to be welcomed to be a leader. And it's nice to know that there are other leaders helping other leaders become leaders. And thank you.
Next, we have council member from District 6, Gary Bredefeld, and we have Brianna Stanley, if you want to come and join us.
Want to take a picture first? Okay. Well, listen, there's so many positive things that were said. All I can say is that there's often a lot of talk about our youth, oftentimes in negative ways, but you all reflect the great things that are going on in our community. You are the future leaders of our community, and it does start early, and you have a great mentor here, and I just want to commend you all for the great work you're doing in the community, I'm sure in school, and just keep up the good work. And Brianna, why don't you say a few words?
Just like the rest, I'd like to thank everyone that's helped us, YLI and the council members, for giving us this opportunity. Being able to have a voice for the people in each of our districts is very exciting. There's a lot of problems that are different for each district. So the fact that we're also diverse in where we come from and what we know, it's really exciting that we can put it together and try to make Fresno a better place. So we appreciate everything.
Thanks, Brianna.
The other one was Thank you. Thank you, Brianna. Thank you to all the youth commissioners for all the hard work that you guys put in this last year. I know that it's not easy to volunteer time when you guys have a million other things going on top of school, sports, and other extracurricular activities, but I commend you all for the leadership that you guys have taken, and I look forward to great things this next year. I look forward to hopefully in this next budget seeing some more awesome things for our young people. And so I want to again thank you guys. If you guys just want to come up, so we'll wrap it up with a picture with everyone. Awesome. Okay, thank you everyone for all your work. Thank you, Jason. I just want to say thank you to the parents that were here supporting your young children and the young adults in making a difference. We appreciate all the parent support.
And Councilmember Soria, I want to add to Chandler and Nina, I need to set up another appointment soon, okay? All right, cool. Lindsay will get a hold of you guys. Right on.
All right, Council, let's continue with, we have general administration to do. So this one was removed, item 3A. Let's do 3B, approve contract change order number 1, Public Works, Mr. Mosier.
Good afternoon, Council President, Council members. This item concerns a change order to a requirements contract that the Council approved 13 months ago. It provides for ability to add scope, add projects, and I want to highlight two things in here, or actually three. One is that the prices that the contractor bid last April, those are still being held, so we're getting great economy of scale. Second, these dollars are all in the current adopted budget, and staff has worked closely with council members on various things like slurry seals within the neighborhoods. This covers a number of park site, parking lots, a lot of great improvements. And then lastly, again, we're not asking for any new appropriations to cover these costs. They're all in the budget. With council approval, this would provide the ability for the contractor to remobilize, come back to Fresno here in June, and to get this work done. Staff's available with any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we'll go out to the public. Are there any members of the public who wish to address this agenda item? Please come forward. Seeing none, we'll return it to council. We have a motion to approve.
Second.
By Member Chavez and a second by Member Brandow. The screen is clear. Is there any opposition to this item? And there is none. It carries 7-0. The next one is also Public Works. Item 3C, action related to supplemental reimbursements.
Thank you, Council. Scott Mosier, Public Works Department. This is really a good news item for the developer reimbursement program. We've received about $650,000 this year of impact fee revenue above and beyond what we'd anticipated. So staff's bringing forward an item to ask the council to appropriate those dollars for developer reimbursements such that we can get the checks out for work that developers have performed in the fee program. And that's $650,000 in impact fee revenue. And I'm available with any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go out to the public. Are there any members of the public who wish to address this agenda item? Please come forward. Seeing none, we'll return it to the council. The screen is clear. Member Brandow.
Scott, I know I'm just going to speak on behalf of my colleagues. Can that money be appropriated and divided 7 ways by council district?
Oh, my
No,
gosh.
I'm just kidding. But so tell me about, right? Yeah. I mean, you're all going to hear it in about a month anyway. Might as well get used to it. Okay. So these developer fees, they've overpaid through various programs. Is it certain programs or different types of fee programs?
It's not that developers have overpaid. What occurs is, so for example, $300,000 out of this agenda item includes traffic signal impact fees. We today have a reimbursement list of about $1.5 million. So what happens is, per our municipal code, developers are reimbursed on a first in, first out basis. So basically, developers have done the work, now they're standing in line and waiting, and as soon as the city receives the money, then we reimburse out, again, starting with the oldest one and then moving along.
Okay. And that's if we can stiff them? Is that what you said? Can I? Okay. So that's really what's happening then. It's not an overpayment. It's okay. You know, I read this real quickly, and so I misunderstood that. So I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you.
Motion to approve. Is there a second? We have a motion and a second. The screen is clear. Is there any opposition to this item? Item carries unanimously. Thank you, staff. And that is the end of the agenda. City Attorney?
Yes.
Can you please read
In closed session, we have one item, performance evaluation and negotiation concerning city attorney. I would not expect any announcement afterwards.
We're done out here.